All right, so you're getting ready for a metal products assembler interview. That's awesome. Let's dive deep into how to really impress in that interview.
Definitely.
This isn't like a typical sit at your desk kind of job.
Yeah.
We're talking hands-on, building stuff in a busy factory setting.
Yeah.
We've got 3 great sources to help us out today. The Metal Products Assembler Career Guide, the Interview Guide, and then some really interesting insights into what RoleCatcher's AI can do for you.
It's a field where you really need both practical skills and a good eye for the details, and we really want to bring that out in your interview.
Totally. So the Career Guide lays it all out. You'll be fitting and fastening metal parts using a bunch of different tools, power drills, grinders, saws, all that. And of course, good old hand tools always come in handy too.
Right.
You'll be working with raw materials, steel, aluminum, copper, things like that, and turning them into parts or even finished products.
What's interesting about this is you're balancing strength and really precise movements. You might be working with big machines, but just a tiny mistake in your measurements can mess everything up. It's all about that attention to detail that really sets you apart.
For sure. And speaking of standing out, that's where RoleCatcher and its AI can really help. Imagine having this AI assistant that helps you tweak your resume and cover letter to perfectly match what they're looking for in the job description.
Yeah.
It really increases your chances of getting noticed.
Right. It's like having this secret weapon for your job search. And it's not just about getting noticed either. RoleCatcher's like your personal interview coach. It gives you AI-powered feedback when you're practicing your answers. It looks at the job description, tells you what skills to emphasize, and even helps you structure how you answer those common interview questions.
Whoa, that's incredible. So you're not just walking into the interview unprepared.
Yeah.
You're going in feeling ready and confident. Okay, so let's jump into some of those common questions. A classic one is, describe your previous experience with metal products assembly. Now, this one can throw people off, especially if they haven't done this exact job before.
Yeah, the important thing is to focus on those skills you have that would transfer over. So have you ever worked with tools before? Maybe not in a factory setting, but have you built things or fixed things? Have you had to follow instructions or blueprints really carefully? Have you been part of a project where everything had to be just right? Think about those experiences and how they show you're ready for this kind of work.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's not always about having the exact same job title on your resume. It's about showing them you have those core skills that would make you successful in this role.
Yeah,
And RoleCatcher can help you pick out those skills and really explain them well, too.
exactly. And remember, even if you haven't worked with metal specifically, you can still talk about how much you want to learn new things and be a part of the team.
Absolutely. Okay, the next question is all about quality. How do you make sure your work is accurate and high quality? This one is showing them you're not just going through the motions. You actually care about doing a good job.
This is where you want to show them how careful you are.
Right.
Talk about things like double-checking your measurements, using specific tools to get things perfect, and visually checking over your work. Anything that shows you're dedicated to quality.
Exactly. It's about having a system and not just hoping for the best. And here's what's really cool. RoleCatcher can actually give you examples of quality control techniques that are specific to metal product assembly. So you can make sure your answer matches what's expected in the industry.
It's really helpful. It takes out all the guesswork. Now, this next question is where things get really interesting. Describe a time you had to figure out what was wrong with an assembly problem.
Oh, yeah.
Interviewers love this one because it tells them how good you are at solving problems.
Yeah, it's story time. Think about a time when something didn't go as planned on a project.
Maybe a part didn't fit right. A tool broke, or the instructions weren't clear. How did you handle it? What did you do to find out what the root cause was?
It's not about always being perfect. It's about showing them how you deal with the tough stuff. Did you look in the manuals? Did you talk to your coworkers? Did you come up with a creative solution?
Yeah, exactly. And even if you didn't solve it by yourself, talking about how you got help or worked with others shows them you're a team player
Right.
and you're willing to learn.
Yeah, a question that comes up a lot in manufacturing is, how do you keep yourself and others safe when you're working with metal? This is where you really emphasize how much you understand about workplace safety rules.
Totally. This isn't just about checking boxes. It's
Yeah.
about showing them that safety is really important to you. Talk about the specific rules you follow, like wearing the right safety gear, using machine guards, and doing lockout-tagout procedures.
Right, don't just list them, though. Explain why these things are so important and how they keep you and everyone else safe from getting hurt. Yeah, show them you understand the reason behind the rules. And
Hmm.
remember, RoleCatcher has a ton of info on safety that you can use to really impress them with what you know.
So now let's shift gears a bit and talk about your career path. The career guide talks a lot about how important it is to keep learning new things in this field.
Yeah, definitely.
Technology is always changing, and to stay ahead, you gotta keep your skills sharp.
Absolutely. So how do you keep up with all those changes and new technologies in the industry? This is a chance to show them you're not just looking for a job, but a career where you can grow.
Think about any magazines or websites you read, online communities you're a part of, or even professional groups you belong to.
Yeah, and don't forget about any training courses or workshops you've taken.
Yeah.
It all shows them you're invested in your own growth and want to be at the top of your game.
Exactly. It's that drive to learn and adapt that really makes you stand out.
Okay, let's jump back into some more interview questions. This one focuses on problem solving. What are some common problems you've come across while assembling metal products? This isn't about admitting you make mistakes. It's about showing off your knowledge and how much attention you pay a detail.
Think back to your previous jobs or training. Have you run into things like misaligned parts, problems with welding, or issues with how the surface looks? Being able to describe those common problems and how you spotted them shows that you have a good eye for quality.
It's also a good time to mention any quality control techniques you've used to prevent or fix those problems. Did you use specific tools for measuring or inspecting? Did you follow a certain way of documenting things?
And if you're having trouble remembering specific examples, RoleCatcher's AI can create a list of those common problems based on the type of metal assembly work mentioned in the job description.
That's so helpful. It makes sure your answers are on point and relevant to the specific job you want. Okay, let's tackle another common interview question. How do you prioritize your work when you've got multiple projects going on at the same time? This is all about showing them how organized you are and your ability to handle a fast-paced work environment.
The key here is to explain your system in a clear and straightforward way. Do you use a to-do list, a project management app, or maybe a more visual method like a Kanban board?
Whatever method you use, just make sure you can explain it clearly. The interviewer wants to see that you have a structured way of managing your work and meeting those deadlines.
And don't be shy about mentioning any techniques you use to stay focused and avoid getting distracted. Things like time blocking or the Pomodoro technique show that you're proactive about managing your time effectively.
Now, for a question that can be a bit tricky, how do you handle a difficult coworker or supervisor? Conflict happens in every workplace, so the interviewer wants to see how you approach those situations.
The most important thing is to stay professional. Avoid saying negative things about your previous colleagues or supervisors. Instead, focus on describing the situation objectively and highlighting the steps you took to resolve the conflict.
Did you communicate directly with the person involved? Did you seek help from a neutral third party? The key is to demonstrate your ability to handle tough interpersonal situations in a constructive way.
And remember, even if the situation wasn't fully resolved, you can still talk about what you learned from the experience and how it's helped you develop your conflict resolution skills.
And if you're having trouble explaining your approach, RoleCatcher's AI can give you some prompts and suggestions on how to frame your response in a professional and helpful manner.
Now, let's wrap up this section with a question that's really connected to productivity and efficiency. How do you make sure you hit those production targets and meet your deadlines? In a fast-paced manufacturing environment, this is a crucial skill.
This question is all about showcasing your strong work ethic, your time management skills, and your ability to perform under pressure.
You could talk about your approach to planning and organization, your ability to stay focused and avoid distractions, or even your willingness to put in extra effort to get the job done.
If you've used any specific methods or tools to boost your productivity, this is the time to mention them. Maybe you're a fan of the Eisenhower matrix for prioritizing tasks, or perhaps you use a time tracking app to keep an eye on your progress.
And remember, RoleCatcher's AI can analyze the job description and point out areas where you can highlight your strengths and address any concerns they might have about you meeting those production goals.
Okay, let's take a step back from the interview questions for a sec and dive back into those career insights from the career guide.
One thing I find really valuable in the guide is the section on those professional organizations. Joining an organization related to your field is a great way to show you're dedicated, connect with other professionals, and stay updated on the latest industry trends and practices.
For sure. For metal products assemblers, some important organizations to check out are the Metal Fabricators Alliance, the American Welding Society, and the Fabricators and Manufacturers Association International. These groups offer a ton of resources, including training programs, certifications, and networking events.
And they can really help you move up in your career. Lots of employers really like to see candidates who are active in these kinds of professional organizations.
Now let's get back to those interview questions. Here's one that really digs into quality control. How do you make sure your work is accurate and high quality?
This question is all about demonstrating your meticulous attention to detail and your commitment to producing top-notch products. You could mention some specific quality control techniques you've used before, like double-checking measurements, inspecting finished parts, or using special tools to check tolerances.
It's also really important to emphasize that you understand the consequences of making errors in metal product assembly. A faulty part could cause product malfunctions, safety risks, and even expensive recalls. By showing your dedication to quality, you demonstrate to the interviewer that you take pride in your work and you know how crucial it is to meet those high standards.
And remember, RoleCatcher's AI can analyze the job description and suggest specific areas where you can highlight your strengths and address any concerns they might have about quality control.
Okay, let's tackle a question that often comes up in technical interviews. Describe a time when you had to figure out what was wrong with an assembly problem. This gives you another chance to showcase your problem-solving skills and your ability to think critically. Think back to a specific situation where you faced a challenge during an assembly project. What was the problem? How did you approach it? What steps did you take to identify the cause and implement a solution?
Remember, it's not about having all the answers instantly. It's about demonstrating how you think, how you analyze a situation, and how willing you are to ask for help or guidance when needed. RoleCatcher's AI can be super helpful here. It can look at your past work experiences and suggest relevant scenarios that might impress the interviewer.
All right, time for another safety-related question. How do you ensure the safety of yourself and others while working with metal products? This is where you really want to demonstrate your knowledge of workplace safety procedures and your commitment to maintaining a safe working environment.
Mention those specific safety procedures you're familiar with. Things like wearing the right personal protective equipment, following lockout procedures, and keeping your work area clean and organized. Don't just list them, though. Explain why these procedures are important and how they help create a safer workplace. RoleCatcher actually has a whole library of safety resources, including guidelines and best practices specific to the industry. You can use these resources to prepare for this question and make sure you're up to date on all the latest safety standards.
All right, let's wrap up this section with a question that's all about your adaptability and willingness to learn. How do you stay up to date with the latest industry trends and technologies?
The manufacturing industry is constantly changing, so it's essential to show that you're committed to continuously learning. You might mention specific industry publications you read, online forums you're part of, or professional development courses you've taken. Attending industry conferences or trade shows is another great way to stay informed and network with other professionals. RoleCatcher's AI can actually help you find relevant resources and learning opportunities based on what you're interested in and your career goals.
Now let's change gears again and go back to those career insights from RoleCatcher's Career Guide. One of the things I find really helpful is the section on professional certifications. Earning a relevant certification can show off your expertise, make you more credible, and make you a stronger candidate for jobs.
For metal products assemblers, some key certifications to consider include the Certified Production Technician, CPT, credential from the Manufacturing Skills Standards Council, MSSC, and the National Institute for Metalworking Skills, NM, certification. These certifications validate your skills and knowledge in areas like safety, quality control, blueprint reading, and measurement techniques.
RoleCatcher's Career Guide has detailed information on various certifications, including what you need to be eligible, what's covered on the exam, and resources to help you study.
And now back to those essential interview questions. Let's look at another one that focuses on your work ethic and efficiency. How do you make sure you hit those production targets and meet your deadlines? In a fast-paced manufacturing environment, meeting deadlines is crucial, and the interviewer wants to know you're reliable and capable of handling pressure.
This question gives you a great chance to highlight your time management skills, your ability to prioritize tasks, and your dedication to delivering high-quality work on time. You might talk about how you approach planning and organization, your knack for breaking down complex tasks into smaller, more manageable steps, or your willingness to put in extra work when needed to get the job done.
And remember, it's not just about working hard, it's about working smart. If you found ways to improve processes or save time in your previous roles, now's the time to mention them. Show the interviewer you're not just meeting expectations, you're exceeding them.
Exactly. It's all about showing them that you're a valuable team member who can help everyone succeed. And don't forget, RoleCatcher can help you pinpoint specific areas where you can highlight your strengths and customize your answers to fit the job description perfectly.
Now, let's shift to a question that looks at your interpersonal skills and how well you work in a team environment. How do you handle a difficult coworker or supervisor?
Conflict is bound to happen in any workplace, so the interviewer wants to see how you approach these situations with maturity and professionalism. The key is to demonstrate that you can remain calm, communicate effectively, and find solutions without making the conflict worse or hurting relationships.
Think back to a time when you had to deal with a challenging interpersonal situation at work. What did you do to try and resolve it? Did you talk directly to the person involved? Did you seek guidance from a supervisor or someone in HR? What did you learn from that experience?
Remember, it's not about bad-mouthing your coworkers or placing blame. It's about showcasing your ability to resolve conflicts and keep those working relationships positive, even when things are tough.
And if you're having trouble explaining your approach, RoleCatcher's AI can provide prompts and suggestions on how to frame your answer in a professional and constructive way.
All right, let's wrap this up with a question that's all about your commitment to professional growth and keeping up with changes in this fast-paced industry. How do you stay up to date with the latest industry trends and technologies?
This is a fantastic chance to show the interviewer you're passionate about what you do, eager to learn new things, and dedicated to constantly improving yourself. You could mention industry publications you read, online forums you participate in, or professional development courses you've taken. Going to industry conferences or trade shows is another great way to stay informed and connect with other people in your field.
And remember, RoleCatcher's AI can help you find learning opportunities and resources that match your interests and career goals.
Now let's switch gears one last time and go back to those valuable career insights from RoleCatcher's Career Guide. One of the things I find most inspiring is the section on career advancement. It's exciting to see the different directions metal products assemblers can take as they gain experience and develop their skills.
Some folks might choose to specialize in a certain area of metal fabrication, like welding, machining, or sheet metal work. Others might move into roles where they supervise or manage, overseeing teams of assemblers or whole production lines. And some might even become entrepreneurs and start their own metal fabrication businesses. The possibilities are really endless.
And that's what makes this career path so rewarding. There's always room to grow and develop.
Exactly. And with resources like RoleCatcher, you can create a path that lines up with what you're passionate about and what you want to achieve.
All right, let's jump back into those interview questions and get you ready to really impress. This next one focuses on your ability to adapt and problem solve in a fast-paced manufacturing environment. It's a question that comes up often, and it goes like this. Describe a time when you had to adjust to a sudden change in plans or priorities during an assembly project.
Ah, yes, those unexpected curveballs. In manufacturing, things can change in a heartbeat, so the interviewer wants to know how you handle those twists and turns.
Think back to a specific time when you had to adapt to a sudden change of plans. Maybe there was a shortage of materials, a change in the design, or an urgent rush order that forced you to rearrange your to-do list.
Walk the interviewer through the situation, explaining how you reacted to the change, what steps you took to adjust how you were working, and how you made sure the project stayed on track, even with the unexpected disruption.
It's all about showing off your flexibility, your ability to think on your feet, and your dedication to meeting deadlines even when things get challenging.
And don't forget to talk about anything you learned from that experience. Did it highlight the importance of communication? Did it reinforce the need for a backup plan? Sharing those insights shows that you're not just adaptable, but also that you learn from your experiences and grow.
And if you're struggling to remember a specific example, RoleCatcher's AI can come to the rescue. It can analyze your past work experiences and suggest scenarios that might resonate with the interviewer.
It's like having a personal brainstorming buddy to help you prep for those tough interview questions.
Now let's switch gears to a question that's essential in any job that involves machinery and potentially dangerous materials. How do you keep yourself and others safe when working with metal products?
Safety is absolutely critical in a manufacturing setting, and the interviewer wants to see that you understand that. This is your opportunity to really demonstrate how much you know about safety procedures and your commitment to creating a safe environment for everyone.
Start by highlighting your knowledge of those key safety procedures. Talk about wearing appropriate PPE, using machine guards correctly, following lockout-tagout procedures, and keeping your work area neat and tidy to avoid trips and falls.
But don't just rattle off a list. Explain why these procedures are so important. Connect them to those potential hazards you might encounter in a metal fabrication environment and how following those practices keeps everyone safe.
It's about showing them that you really understand the reasons behind the rules, not just blindly following them.
And RoleCatcher has a bunch of resources on workplace safety, including those industry-specific guidelines and best practices. You can definitely use those resources to refresh your memory and prepare for this question really well.
Now let's talk about a question that assesses your willingness to learn and adapt in an industry that's constantly changing. How do you stay up to date with the latest trends and technologies in metal product assembly?
This is your time to shine and show the interviewer that you're not satisfied with just the basics. You want to learn, you want to grow, and you're dedicated to continuous improvement.
Think about the resources you rely on, industry publications, those online forums, professional organizations you belong to. You might have even taken courses or workshops to level up your skills.
It's all about showing them that you're committed to professional development and you're passionate about your craft.
Exactly. And RoleCatcher can actually help you discover even more learning opportunities based on what you're interested in and where you want to go with your career. It's like having your own personal roadmap for your career journey.
Okay, let's go back to those interview questions. Let's work on one that focuses on your ability to work independently and be proactive. Describe a time when you went above and beyond to complete a task or project.
Ah, yes, the go-getter question. They want to know you're not just someone who clocks in and does the bare minimum. They're looking for someone who takes initiative, owns their responsibilities, and goes that extra mile to get amazing results.
So think back to a time when you really exceeded expectations. Maybe you volunteered for an extra task, found a creative solution to a tricky problem, or put in some extra time to make sure a project was done on time and to the highest standard.
Walk them through it, explaining what made you want to go above and beyond and what the positive outcomes were.
It's all about showing off your dedication, your work ethic, and your commitment to excellence.
And remember, RoleCatcher can help you put together a strong response that highlights your key strengths and makes you stand out from the competition.
Now, let's move on to a question that checks your attention to detail and your ability to spot potential problems. What are some common mistakes that people make when assembling metal products?
This question isn't about blaming anyone or focusing on the negative. It's about showing you understand the process, know where things can go wrong, and how dedicated you are to quality control.
Think about those common errors that pop up during assembly, like misreading blueprints, using the wrong tools or techniques, not securing fasteners properly, or forgetting to check finished products for defects.
Explain how these mistakes can affect the final product and what you do to avoid them.
For example, you could talk about double-checking measurements, using calipers or micrometers for precision, visually inspecting welds for imperfections, or following a checklist to make sure every step has been done correctly.
By highlighting these common errors and how you prevent them, you show the interviewer that you're meticulous in your work and you're committed to producing high-quality products.
And remember, RoleCatcher's AI can analyze the job description and provide you with a list of those common mistakes specific to the type of metal assembly work they're looking for. This helps you tailor your answer and show off your knowledge of the specific industry.
Now let's dive into a question that focuses on teamwork and communication. Describe a time when you had to work effectively as part of a team to complete an assembly project.
Teamwork is the name of the game in any manufacturing environment, so the interviewer wants to know you can collaborate effectively, communicate clearly, and contribute positively to achieving a shared goal.
Think back to a project where teamwork was absolutely essential for success. Describe each team member's role and responsibilities, how you communicated with each other, and how you resolved any conflicts or challenges that popped up.
Highlight your ability to listen attentively, share your ideas constructively, and support your teammates.
And don't forget to mention the positive outcomes of the project and how your teamwork played a part in its success.
Now let's take a moment to go back to those valuable career insights from RoleCatcher's Career Guide. One thing I find particularly helpful is the section on professional organizations. Joining a relevant professional organization can be a fantastic way to network with other professionals. stay updated on industry trends, and access valuable resources like training programs and certifications.
For metal products assemblers, some key organizations to consider include the Metal Fabricators Alliance, the American Welding Society, and the Fabricators and Manufacturers Association International. These organizations offer a ton of benefits to their members and can be a great asset when it comes to advancing your career.
Absolutely. And never underestimate the power of networking. The connections you make through these organizations can open doors to new opportunities, mentorship, and valuable insights into the industry.
Now, let's get back to those interview questions. This next one is all about showing your dedication to quality and how well you understand the importance of being accurate when assembling metal products. It goes like this. How do you ensure that the parts you assemble fit together correctly and that the final product meets all the required specifications?
The precision question. When it comes to putting together metal products, even the tiniest mistake can have big consequences. The interviewer wants to see that you understand the importance of working with exact specifications and that you have a systematic approach to making sure everything's accurate.
So how do you make sure everything lines up perfectly? Start by explaining how carefully you review those blueprints and work instructions, paying close attention to those dimensions, tolerances, and any special instructions or requirements.
And then talk about the tools and techniques you use to measure and verify your work. Calipers, micrometers, gauges. Explain how you double-check those measurements and how you correct any errors you find.
It's also crucial to show them you understand what could happen if there are errors in metal product assembly. If a part is misaligned or a component doesn't meet those specifications, it could mean a faulty product, safety hazards, or even having to redo the work, which is expensive.
Right. It's all about showing them you're dedicated to quality, you pay close attention to detail, and you can do precise work that meets the highest standards.
And remember, RoleCatcher's AI can be a big help here. It can look at the job description and give you a list of tools and techniques that are commonly used in that specific type of metal assembly work. This helps you tailor your answer and impress the interviewer with how much you know about the industry.
Now let's look at a question that's designed to assess your problem-solving skills and your ability to think critically when things don't go as planned. Describe a time when you had to come up with a creative solution to an assembly problem.
Ah, yes. This is the think outside the box question. The interviewer wants to know that you're resourceful, you don't give up easily when you hit a roadblock, and you can come up with innovative solutions.
So dig deep into your memory and find a story that really showcases your ability to be creative. Maybe you had to improvise a tool, modify a part, or find a workaround to finish a task when the usual methods just weren't working.
Take the interviewer through the situation step by step. Explain the problem you faced, what limitations you were working with, and how you came up with that solution. Highlight your creativity, your problem-solving skills, and your willingness to try new things and experiment.
And don't be afraid to share a story where your solution wasn't perfect right away. It's all about that problem-solving process, the things you learned, and how you can adapt and overcome those challenges.
And remember, RoleCatcher's AI can be a valuable resource here. It can analyze your past work experiences and suggest relevant scenarios that might impress the interviewer and really showcase your unique strengths.
Now, let's switch gears for a bit and go back to the career guide and the section on career paths. It's pretty cool to see the different ways you can specialize within the world of metal product assembly.
Absolutely. Your career path doesn't have to be just one straight line. You can focus on a particular area like welding, machining, quality control, or even become an expert in a specific type of metal fabrication, like working with sheet metal.
Exactly. And becoming a specialist in a particular area can open doors to even more exciting opportunities and possibly even higher pay.
It's all about discovering what you're really good at and what you love to do, and then building your career within the bigger world of metal product assembly.
Now let's wrap up this deep dive with a final thought. Remember, that interview for a metal products assembler role is your chance to showcase your practical skills, your sharp eye for detail, your talent for problem solving, and how much you value quality and safety.
And with the help of RoleCatcher's AI-powered tools and resources, you can prepare confidently, customize your answers to fit that specific job description, and really make a strong impression as a top candidate.
We believe you have what it takes to excel in this rewarding and fast-paced field. Good luck with your job search.
It really is. And, speaking of rewarding careers, let's take another look at the career guide. One thing that really stands out is how you can specialize in this field.
Oh, for sure. You don't have to be a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
You can become like a master welder or an expert at machining or even specialize in a certain type of metal fabrication like sheet metal work.
Exactly. And that specialization can open up even more opportunities and maybe even lead to higher pay.
Speaking of opening doors, let's get back to those interview questions. Here's one that sometimes trips people up. What are some common defects you've run into while assembling metal products?
This question isn't about admitting you've made mistakes, it's about showing you understand quality control. Think back to times when you spotted an issue like a misaligned part, a weld that wasn't quite right, or a surface finish that just wasn't up to par.
Right. It's all about showing them your attention to detail and how you can catch potential problems before they turn into big headaches.
And don't forget to mention how you fix those defects. Did you use certain inspection tools? Was there a specific way you documented things? Showing those details shows you're proactive and you're focused on solutions.
And this is where RoleCatcher can be a lifesaver. It can give you a list of those common defects based on the type of metal assembly they talk about in the job description. That way your answer is super relevant.
It's like having a cheat sheet made just for the job you want. Now let's switch gears to a question about teamwork. How do you handle a difficult coworker or supervisor?
Ooh, that one can be tough. We've all had those coworkers who are, well, let's just say a little challenging.
The key is to be professional and focus on finding a solution, not dwelling on the problem. Avoid bad-mouthing or playing the blame game. Instead, just describe the situation objectively and explain what you did to try and fix things.
Did you try talking directly to that coworker or supervisor? Or maybe you involved someone else like a manager or HR?
Exactly. And even if things didn't get completely resolved, you can still talk about what you learned from that experience and how it helped you get better at dealing with conflict.
And remember, RoleCatcher can help you create a response that's professional and will make an impact. That way you leave a good impression on the interviewer.
Speaking of good impressions, let's talk about something that's super important in any manufacturing setting. How do you keep yourself and others safe when working with metal?
This is where you want to really stand out. It's about showing them that safety isn't just a bunch of rules to you, it's something you truly believe in.
Absolutely. So start by talking about those basic safety procedures. Things like wearing the right safety gear, using machine guards correctly, following lockout, tagout procedures, all those things that are designed to keep everyone safe.
But don't just give them a list. Explain why those procedures are so important. Talk about the potential dangers in a metal fabrication environment and how those practices help to minimize those risks.
It's all about showing them you understand the why behind the rules, not just going through the motions.
And RoleCatcher is a great resource for reviewing those industry-specific safety guidelines and best practices. It can really help you prepare for this question.
Now let's switch gears for a minute and go back to the career guide. It talks about how important continuous learning is in this field, especially with all the technology that's changing so rapidly.
You got to stay ahead of the curve, right? So how do you keep up with all the new stuff in metal product assembly?
Think about those resources you use, industry publications, online forums, professional organizations. Maybe you've taken some courses or workshops to boost your skills.
It's all about showcasing that dedication to professional development.
Exactly. And RoleCatcher can actually help you find even more learning opportunities that are a good fit for your interests and your career goals. It's like having a personalized roadmap for your career.
Okay, let's get back to those interview questions. Here's one that focuses on your organizational skills. How do you prioritize your tasks when you're juggling multiple projects? This is super important in a busy manufacturing setting where things move fast.
This is where you get to showcase those organizational superpowers. So how do you manage it all? Do you use a to-do list, a project management app, or maybe a visual system like a Kanban board?
Whatever you use, make sure you can explain it clearly. The interviewer wants to see that you have a good system for handling your workload and making those deadlines.
And don't be afraid to mention any techniques you use to stay focused and avoid distractions. Things like time blocking or the Pomodoro technique can show that you're proactive about managing your time.
Right. It's all about demonstrating that you can handle a busy workload and still get things done. And the cool thing is RoleCatcher's AI can analyze the job description and suggest specific time management strategies that are relevant to the role, so you can really tailor your answer.
It's like having a personal coach right in your pocket. Now let's talk about a question that's all about handling pressure and meeting those deadlines. How do you make sure you hit those production targets and meet your deadlines?
That's a critical question in any manufacturing setting where efficiency and productivity are key.
This is your chance to highlight your work ethic, your ability to stay focused under pressure, and that commitment to delivering top-notch work on time.
You can talk about how you plan and organize, how you break down complex tasks into smaller, more manageable steps, or your willingness to go the extra mile to get things done.
And if you've implemented any process improvements or time-saving techniques in your past roles, this is a great time to mention them. It shows you're not just meeting expectations, you're exceeding them.
Exactly. And RoleCatcher can help you identify those areas where you can highlight your strengths and tailor your answers to that specific job description.
Now let's shift gears for a moment and dive back into the career guide. It talks about professional development and how important it is to keep learning and growing throughout your career as a metal products assembler.
For sure. The industry is constantly evolving with all these new technologies and techniques emerging all the time. To stay on top of your game, you have to invest in yourself and keep learning.
The career guide has a lot of information on professional development opportunities, like industry-specific training programs, online courses, and certification programs.
You can use those resources to figure out where you want to grow, develop some new skills, and create a plan to reach your career goals.
And don't forget about mentorship. Finding a good mentor in the field can provide amazing guidance, support, and insights to help you navigate your career.
Okay, let's get back to those interview questions. Here's one that focuses on your problem-solving skills and that ability to think on your feet. Describe a time when you had to troubleshoot an assembly problem.
This is a classic interview question, and it's a good one. It gives the interviewer a peek into how you approach challenges, analyze situations, and find solutions.
So think back to a time when you ran into a problem during an assembly project. Maybe a part wasn't fitting right, a tool wasn't working properly, or you found an error in the design.
Talk them through how you tackled the problem. How did you figure out what was going on? What steps did you take? Did you refer to manuals or talk to coworkers? And most importantly, what solution did you come up with? Did you think outside the box? Were you resourceful? And did you stick with it until you found a solution?
Remember, you don't have to know all the answers right away. It's more about showing them you can think critically, troubleshoot problems, and come up with creative solutions.
And if you're drawing a blank, RoleCatcher's AI can be really helpful. It can analyze your past work experiences and suggest relevant situations that might resonate with the interviewer.
All right, let's move on to a question that's super important in any manufacturing setting. How do you ensure the safety of yourself and others while working with metal products? This is your time to really showcase your understanding of safety procedures and your commitment to a safe work environment for everyone.
Start by talking about those essential safety steps you take, things like wearing the right personal protective equipment, using machine guards correctly, following lockout-tagout procedures, and keeping your work area clean and organized to prevent trips and falls.
But don't just list them off. Explain why these steps are so important and how they contribute to a safer workplace. Show them you get it.
You can even mention any extra safety training or certifications you've got, like OSHA, 10-hour general industry training, or specific certifications for the tools and equipment you'll be using.
Absolutely. That shows you're proactive about safety and you're willing to go the extra mile.
And don't forget, RoleCatcher has a whole library of safety resources, including those industry guidelines and best practices. You can use those to brush up on your knowledge before the interview and make sure you're up to date on the latest standards.
Okay, let's tackle a question that's all about your willingness to learn and adapt in an industry that's constantly changing. How do you stay up to date with the latest industry trends and technologies?
This is a great opportunity to show the interviewer that you're not just okay with the status quo. You want to learn new things, and you're committed to continuous improvement.
You can talk about those industry publications. You read those online forums you participate in, or professional development courses you've taken. Attending those industry conferences and trade shows is another good way to stay informed and network with other professionals.
The key is to showcase your proactive approach to learning and your passion for staying at the forefront of the field.
Exactly. It's that drive to learn and adapt that really makes a candidate stand out.
And remember, RoleCatcher's AI can be a great tool for finding relevant learning opportunities and resources that match your interests and career goals.
Now let's shift gears again and go back to those valuable insights from RoleCatcher's Career Guide. One thing I find particularly useful is the section on professional development.
Investing in your professional development is key to long-term success, especially in a field like this where the technology and techniques are always evolving.
The Career Guide gives you tons of information on professional development opportunities, like industry-specific training programs, online courses, and certification programs.
You can use these resources to figure out where you want to grow, develop new skills, and really take your career to the next level.
And don't underestimate the importance of mentorship. Finding a mentor in this field can give you some incredibly valuable guidance, support, and insights as you navigate your career path.
Okay, let's dive back into those interview questions. Here's one that focuses on your attention to detail and your commitment to producing quality work. What are some common defects you've come across while assembling metal products?
This question is a great chance to show off your knowledge of quality control and your ability to spot those potential problems before they become big issues. Think back to your past jobs or training and remember any times you found a defect in a metal product.
Describe the defect, how you found it, and what steps you took to fix it. For example, you might talk about a time you noticed a weld that wasn't aligned right, or a component that had a burr or a sharp edge.
Explain how you spotted that defect, what tools or techniques you used to check it out, and what you did to correct the problem. This shows the interviewer you're careful in your work, and you understand how important it is to catch mistakes early.
And if you're struggling to come up with specific examples, RoleCatcher's AI can actually generate a list of those common defects based on the type of metal assembly work mentioned in the job description. So your answer will be spot on and tailored to that specific role. Okay, let's tackle another question that often pops up in these manufacturing interviews. How do you prioritize your work when you've got a bunch of projects going on at the same time? In a busy production environment, it's all about staying organized and managing your time well.
Explain how you prioritize those tasks. Do you use a to-do list with a project management app or a method for ranking tasks by urgency and importance?
The important thing is to show them you have a system and you can handle a full workload without getting overwhelmed or missing deadlines.
And don't hesitate to mention those productivity techniques you use, like time blocking or the Pomodoro technique. Those things show you're proactive about managing your time.
Now, for a question that's all about teamwork and those interpersonal skills, how do you handle a difficult coworker or supervisor? Every workplace has its share of conflict, so the interviewer wants to see how you approach those situations maturely and professionally.
The key is to demonstrate you can stay calm, communicate clearly, and find solutions without making things worse or damaging relationships.
Think back to a time you had to navigate a tricky situation with a coworker or a supervisor. What did you do to try and resolve the conflict? Did you talk directly to the person or seek advice from a supervisor or someone in HR? What did you learn from that?
Remember, don't badmouth anyone or place blame. Focus on showcasing those conflict resolution skills and your ability to keep those relationships positive even when things are a bit rocky.
And if you're having trouble explaining your approach, RoleCatcher's AI can give you some prompts and suggestions to help you frame your answer in a way that's both professional and constructive.
All right, let's wrap this section up with a question that's all about your commitment to growth and staying ahead of the curve. How do you ensure that you meet production targets and deadlines?
In a fast-paced manufacturing environment, hitting those deadlines is crucial. The interviewer wants to know you understand how important productivity and efficiency are, and that you have strategies for delivering quality work on time.
This question is a great chance to highlight your time management skills, how you prioritize tasks, and your commitment to going above and beyond.
You can talk about how you approach planning and organizing, how you break down those big tasks into smaller, more manageable chunks, or even your willingness to put in extra time when it's needed.
And if you've implemented any process improvements or found ways to save time in your previous roles, definitely mention them. It shows you're not just meeting expectations, you're exceeding them.
And RoleCatcher can help you identify those areas where you can really shine and tailor your answers to fit the specific job description.
Now let's change gears one last time and dive back into the career guide. There's a really inspiring section on career advancement. It's exciting to see all the different paths that are available to metal products assemblers.
It's true. There are so many possibilities. You might choose to specialize in a particular area of metal fabrication, like welding machining or sheet metal work. Some people move into supervisory or management roles, overseeing teams of assemblers or entire production lines, and others might even become entrepreneurs and start their own metal fabrication businesses.
And that's what makes this career path so rewarding. There's always room to grow and develop. And with resources like RoleCatcher, you can create a career journey that aligns with your passions and your goals.
Absolutely. So let's jump back into those interview questions and get you prepared to really knock their socks off. This next one focuses on your adaptability and problem-solving skills in a dynamic manufacturing environment. It's a question that comes up a lot, and it goes like this. Describe a time when you had to adjust to a sudden change in plans or priorities during an assembly project. It can be a real juggling act sometimes, right?
Totally. So how did you handle that situation and keep everything moving smoothly?
This is your chance to shine as a master of organization and adaptability. Did you prioritize tasks based on deadlines or urgency? Did you delegate responsibilities to teammates? Did you communicate proactively with supervisors or stakeholders to keep them informed?
The interviewer wants to see that you can stay calm under pressure, adjust your workflow effectively, and maintain a positive attitude even when things get hectic.
And don't forget to mention any time management techniques or organizational tools that helped you navigate the situation successfully. Maybe you used a to-do list, a project management app, or a visual system like a Kanban board.
Right. It's all about showcasing your ability to handle a demanding workload and deliver results consistently.
Now let's shift gears for a moment and revisit the career guide. One thing that stands out is the importance of professional development in this field. Technology is constantly evolving, and to stay ahead of the curve, you've got to invest in your skills and knowledge.
Absolutely. The guide highlights various opportunities for professional growth, including industry-specific training programs, online courses, and certifications.
And don't underestimate the power of networking. Attending industry conferences and trade shows can provide valuable insights, connect you with potential mentors, and even open doors to new job opportunities.
Speaking of opportunities, let's get back to those interview questions. This next one is all about demonstrating your commitment to quality and your understanding of the importance of accuracy in metal product assembly. It goes like this. How do you ensure that the parts you assemble fit together correctly and that the final product meets the required specifications?
This question gets to the heart of precision and meticulousness, two essential qualities for a metal products assembler. The interviewer wants to see that you understand the importance of working to precise specifications and that you have a systematic approach to ensuring accuracy.
So how do you make sure everything lines up perfectly?
Start by explaining how you carefully review blueprints and work instructions, paying close attention to dimensions, tolerances, and any special notes or requirements.
Then talk about the specific tools and techniques you use to measure and verify your work. Do you use calipers, micrometers, gauges?
Explain how you double-check your measurements and what steps you take to correct any errors.
It's also important to highlight your understanding of the consequences of errors in metal product assembly. A misaligned part or a component that doesn't meet specifications could lead to a faulty product safety hazards or even costly rework.
Right.
It's all about showcasing your commitment to quality, your attention to detail, and your ability to deliver precise work that meets the highest standards.
And remember, RoleCapture's AI can be a valuable resource here. It can analyze the job description and provide a list of specific tools and techniques commonly used in that type of metal product assembly, helping you tailor your answer and impress the interviewer with your knowledge.
Now let's move on to a question that assesses your problem-solving skills and your ability to think critically when faced with unexpected challenges. Describe a time when you had to come up with a creative solution to an assembly problem.
The MacGyver question. The interviewer wants to see that you can think outside the box, that you're resourceful, and that you don't give up easily when faced with obstacles.
So dig into your memory bank and find a story that showcases your ingenuity. Maybe you had to improvise a tool, modify a part, or come up with a workaround to complete a task when the usual methods weren't working.
Walk the interviewer through the situation, explaining the problem, the constraints you faced, and the steps you took to come up with a solution. Highlight your creativity, your problem-solving abilities, and your willingness to experiment and try new approaches.
And don't be afraid to share a story where the solution wasn't perfect at first. It's all about the process of problem-solving, the lessons learned, and your ability to adapt and overcome challenges.
And remember, RoleCatcher's AI can be a valuable resource here. It can analyze your past work experiences and suggest relevant scenarios that might resonate with the interviewer and highlight your unique strengths.
Now let's shift gears for a moment and revisit the career guide section on career paths. One of the things that stands out is the potential for specialization within the field of metal product assembly.
Absolutely. You're not limited to just one trajectory. You could focus on a particular area like welding, machining, quality control, or even specialize in a specific type of metal fabrication like sheet metal work.
Exactly. And that specialization can open doors to even more exciting opportunities and potentially higher earning potential.
It's all about finding your niche and pursuing your passions within the broader field of metal product assembly.
Now let's wrap up our deep dive with a final thought for you. Remember, a metal products assembler interview is your chance to showcase your practical skills, your attention to detail, your problem-solving abilities, and your commitment to quality and safety.
And with the help of RoleCatcher's AI-powered tools and resources, you can prepare with confidence. Tailor your answers to the specific job description and stand out as a top candidate.
We're confident that you have what it takes to excel in this rewarding and dynamic field. Good luck with your job search.